The name Carlos Manzo became etched in history not only for his success but also for the scandal and mystery surrounding his tragic end. A murder that shocked an entire nation and raised questions that were never fully answered. Who really wanted Manzo dead? Why? And what did he know that made him so dangerous to certain people? Behind the sensational headlines was a man entangled in a web of power, money, and secrets that could shake entire empires. Some claim his downfall was planned long before it happened. Others say he simply reaped what he sowed. But there is one thing no one can deny. The story of Carlos Manzo changed everything. It marked a turning point, an event that revealed the darkest side of influence and human ambition. And today, with new clues and previously unseen testimonies, the case comes alive once more, promising to expose names we would never have imagined connected to this crime. So, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and make sure you don't miss any detail of this investigation. YouTube only delivers this kind of deep storytelling to those who engage. If you'd like to support the channel even more, leave a super thanks. Your gesture makes all the difference. And if you can't, drop a comment sharing which part of this story shocked you the most. Your opinion truly matters. But pay attention. Stay until the end, because the final revelation will leave you speechless, and might just change everything you thought you knew about Carlos Manzo. Carlos Manzo was always more than just a name. He was a presence that filled the room, a gaze that challenged, a voice that inspired, and at times, instilled fear. His name evoked power, charisma, and mystery. Around him, a cult of personality formed, surpassing fame itself. He had become a symbol of success, daring, and influence. Yet behind the glamour and the headlines was a man slowly losing himself in the very image he had created. To talk about the murder of Carlos Manzo is to revisit not only the tragedy of one man but the collapse of an entire era. An era when we still believed that idols were untouchable. Born into a humble background where effort was the only possible path, Carlos grew up watching the contrast between dreams and reality. From an early age, he learned that the world could only be conquered not just with talent, but with strategy and resilience. He was sharp, observant, and incredibly perceptive. A man who could read people and use that insight to his advantage. That skill, the very one that helped him rise, was also what led him to fall. Carlos mastered the art of self-promotion, knowing how to turn every moment into a spectacle, every misstep into a narrative. That's how he built a career filled with brilliance, but also controversy. His public appearances were meticulously crafted, his natural charm mixed with just enough mystery to keep audiences craving more. To his fans, he was a visionary. To his critics, a manipulator. But either way, he was impossible to ignore. Fame came quickly, placing him on a pedestal where everyone could see him, yet few truly knew him. Behind the scenes, he was torn between the desire to be loved and the fear of being forgotten. He constantly felt watched, as if the whole world waited for his next move. The pressure was crushing, and while the public saw his smile on screen, he was fighting a silent war within. The so-called murder of Carlos Manzo began long before his death was announced. It was a slow and merciless process, a symbolic assassination fueled by rumors, envy, and distorted truths. It started with small controversies, subtle comments that turned into headlines, and headlines that became full-blown scandals. Soon, the admired man became the target of public judgment. Every interview was seen as a confession, every gesture as a sign of guilt. The media, always hungry for drama, turned his life into a spectacle. Carlos was no longer treated as a star, but as a villain. The same crowd that once cheered for him began to throw stones. It was the beginning of his symbolic end, the assassination of his image, his myth, the man who dared to be larger than life. Social media amplified the chaos. Videos, theories, and accusations multiplied by the minute. The truth no longer mattered, only impact did. To some, he was a victim of a culture that builds idols only to destroy them. To others, he embodied the archetype of an ambitious man consumed by vanity. But the truth was more complex. Carlos Manzo had become a mirror for an entire generation, reflecting the duality between glory and loneliness, power and emptiness. In his final appearances, something about him had changed. The smile was still there, but the eyes seemed distant, like someone who had already accepted his fate. In one of his last interviews, he said something that would echo forever: Fame doesn't feed you, it only exposes you. Those words sounded like a prophecy. For the first time, the public saw the man behind the mask, and the contrast was devastating. The brilliance gave way to fragility, and the myth began to crumble. Soon after, came the news that shocked the country. Carlos Manzo had been murdered. But for many, the real assassination had already taken place. When public love turned into judgment and respect turned into contempt. His physical death merely sealed the end of a story that the entire world helped to write. The reaction was immediate. Headlines, tributes, conspiracy theories. Everyone tried to make sense of the impossible. Some claimed he knew he was going to be silenced. Others said he had foreseen everything. The fact is, his death became a watershed moment. From that day on, the name Carlos Manzo no longer belonged only to a man, it became a symbol. Documentaries, investigations, films, and books emerged, all trying to uncover who he truly was. Some portrayed him as a martyr, others as a brilliant manipulator. But amidst so many versions, one truth endured. Carlos Manzo was the perfect reflection of an era that confused fame with worth, visibility with truth. His death, whether literal or symbolic, marked the end of a story that revealed the darkest side of public adoration. After the murder, scholars began studying what they called the Manzo effect. The way society built him up and tore him down became a topic of debate in universities and cultural circles. He stopped being just a person and became a phenomenon. He represented the price of living under constant scrutiny, the fragility of depending on others' approval, and the destructive power of collective opinion. Many saw in his journey a reflection of their own lives, the desire to be seen, the fear of being forgotten, the struggle between authenticity and image. And perhaps that's why his story endures. Even after his death, Carlos Manzo never truly disappeared. His name persists, reborn in debates, reinterpreted by each generation. Some see him as a warning, others as inspiration, but everyone agrees on one thing. He defined an era. The line between the man and the myth has long faded, and now, it's impossible to tell them apart. Carlos Manzo became eternal not because he lived long, but because he revealed truths no one wanted to face. His story is a mirror reflecting a society that feeds on rise and fall, turning lives into entertainment and tragedies into content. In the end, perhaps the real killer of Carlos Manzo was the same audience that once applauded him. And maybe he knew it from the very beginning, because in every smile he gave to the cameras, there was a silent warning that everything would have a price. And he paid it to the very last moment. Today, to speak of Carlos Manzo is to speak of ourselves, of the need to be seen, the cruelty of judgment, and the beauty and danger of living under the spotlight. The murder of Carlos Manzo defined an era because it exposed, with brutal clarity, what hides behind the glamour. Loneliness, fear, and the unbearable weight of being human in a world that demands perfection. His death didn't end his story. It transformed it into an eternal mirror of a painful truth. Carlos Manzo wasn't just murdered. He was consumed, reinvented, and ultimately immortalized. Because in the silence that followed his death, what still echoes today is the question no one can answer. Who killed Carlos Manzo? The answer, perhaps, lies within each of us. And that's how the story of Carlos Manzo concludes, not as a simple crime, but as a phenomenon that exposed the very heart of our culture. His journey reminds us that success comes at a cost, that fame consumes, and that behind every public figure, there's someone simply trying to stay human. If this reflection made you think, hit that like button right now. It tells YouTube that this kind of meaningful content deserves to reach more people who, like you, seek to understand the hidden side of the stories that shaped a generation. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell. Every new subscription helps this project grow and continue bringing deep, human narratives like this one. I also want to know your opinion. What part of Carlos Manzo's journey struck you the most? Leave it in the comments below. I read them all and love hearing different perspectives. And before you go, don't forget to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now. It's even more fascinating and captivating than this one, and I'm sure you'll love it. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.